So thank you all for coming this evening. I always feel so much appreciation when anyone shows up, not because of coming from any place of like fear that people won't come, but because if people are showing up, that means people are practicing the Dharma. And the world's in dire need of folks who are waking up. And so I just really appreciate that you take time out of your day to be here and to study yourself and grow and practice this way. I really appreciate it. So tonight I want to talk about a koan, and in order to do that I probably should say a little bit about what a koan is. So in the canon of Zen, there's a very deep literary tradition, and specifically in the Rinzai school of Zen they call that koan study. So a koan is, it's commonly understood to be a riddle, but that's not quite right. A better way of thinking about it is a provocation that is dark to the mind but radiant to the heart. And so the objective in studying a koan is to understand within yourself and within your own experience some aspect of the Dharma as it applies to your life, and to express it in a way that expresses it freshly and with reference to your journey, your life, your experience. And it also kind of forces student and teacher over time to look at and learn about and explore all kinds of different aspects of the way. And so they come in these different collections. This one's called the Mumonkan because it was created by someone named Mumon, and it's translates as the gateless barrier. So there is no gate, right? You're already enlightened, you already have it, and yet in studying the way, this gateless way that we study, we pass through different barriers. Kind of an easy way to understand a barrier is like, think about anything in your life that you were doing in a way that you later determined was not how you should be doing it. And you had an insight and you were like, oh, what was I thinking, right? We all have those. Those are barriers. And so the koans in a way are sort of artificial barriers to help us learn how to work with real ones. The purpose is not to engage in sort of spiritual sparring for the point of your own amusement, right? The point is to develop the pathways in your brain that allow you to spontaneously and effectively and compassionately respond to the world from that place of your true nature. So I'm going to read you one and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So Joshu is a very famous Zen master, and he was active during the Tang Dynasty in China. If you'd called his name, he would have responded to the name Chao Chu. So it's Chao Chu, and then Japanese translate that to Joshu, and he lived during what is often referred to as the golden age of Zen. So it's this incredibly rich period where there's lots of monasteries, lots of monks, lots of writing, and so this comes down to us from that time. So there's a koan and a comment and a poem. So the koan is, once a monk made a request of Joshu. I have just entered the monastery, he said. Please give me instructions, master. And Joshu said, have you had your breakfast? The monk said, yes, I have. Then Joshu said, wash your bowls. And the monk had insight. So Mumon's poem on this is, because it is so very clear, it takes longer to come to the realization. If you know at once the candle is fire, the meal has long been cooked. So we can sort of right away see like what? What are you talking about? Right? So it is this sort of special kind of language that's unique to Zen. And the monk says to Joshu, once the monk asks Joshu for instruction, Joshu says, have you had breakfast? And he's like, yeah. He's like, wash your bowls. So what's going on here? I like to kind of think about like, what is it that we're doing that we're not doing all the way, right? What things are we sorting into categories? Things we're doing and things we're avoiding. right? And I mean, apparently even, 1,000 years ago or more, people didn't like to wash dishes, right? And so on a level, the teaching is just saying, do what needs to be done, right? But I think it also goes deeper than that, because can you just wash the bowls? Like, everything you need in terms of your own enlightenment and realization is available to you in the washing of your dishes. Just wash them. Like, just wash the dishes. Like, that's it. Like, if you can perfectly wash your dishes, you don't need a teacher anymore. Right? So, what we need is available in your kitchen sink. Like, it's the opposite of special, and yet it's incredibly profound. One of the practices that I came to, there was a period where I came to recognize that I would rather be married than be right. And what I mean by that is, I would rather work on what was causing me to want to win arguments than win the arguments. Because what I would find is that when I would win the argument, I would definitely also lose the argument, right? Because I might win in my own defensive headspace, but then my partner's over here hurt. And so now I've won the argument and lost everything that actually matters. And so I had to find a way to, like, okay, so I have a set of natural impulses which are unhelpful when conflict arises. And so I need to find a peaceful way through that. But I didn't have great models, and I wasn't quite sure how to change the pattern. And so what I decided to do was, every time I felt like I wanted to be defensive, I just went and cleaned the kitchen. And I would just put all of my intent and energy into, like, putting the dish in the dishwasher, like scrubbing the counter, like, and just, because it takes like 20 minutes to do that, right? Well, that's 20 minutes of settling down. And so then when I returned to the conflict, it wasn't even a conflict anymore, right? Because all of the old conditioned patterns which were wanting to come up, right? The point of Zen is that we look at this stuff that comes up and we work with it, and we see its nature. We see it as not who we are, that it's not permanent, that it doesn't have to control our actions, right? So when big things come up, wash your bowls. So it's a refuge. It's not just like, a piece of it is like, when you ring the bell, just ring the bell, right? So I have the bell, and it's like, can I just do the thing? Let everything drop away and just walk Kinyan. Just, right? No opinions, no meaning, no spirituality, nothing special. Just ring the bell. That's it, right? No punchline. Like, what happens when there's no punchline? Think about, like, I was on the internet, which is my first mistake, right? And there was some comment or some TikTok or something about student loan interest. And I literally made the comment that student loan interest is tax deductible, which it is. But my phone has been notifying me of like an entire screed of responses to this, with people ranting about billionaires and how we shouldn't have to pay back our student loans, all of this stuff, right? And I'm not even disagreeing necessarily with any of the things that are said. I mean, some of it was, because of course it went all over the place, different sides, different opinions, different views. But literally all I was trying to communicate in my comment was, hey, someone made some comment about how rich people can deduct things and we should be able to deduct our student loans. And all I said was, well, actually your student loan interest is tax deductible. You get this form and you do it. So, sorry, I was just making sure that the camera was doing something weird. But yeah, so that's not just washing your dishes, right? Our minds have ample opportunity under all conditions to create a whole drama. And so does everyone else's mind, right? So we can fail to just wash the dishes, and everyone else around us can also do that, because we all have the same, root mind. And so there's two Zen homework assignments here, right? One is like literally wash your bowls. Like everything you need is right there. Like that's the practice. Just do the thing. Get better, get proficient at just being with what is, right? And start with easy things, right? Because like being with your difficult relatives at Thanksgiving and just being with what is hard. But like sweeping a floor and just being with what is, with no other stimulus, is actually pretty simple. You can actually do that. But so then you start to expand your capacity for being with what is, being present in the moment. So that's homework assignment number one. Homework assignment number two is when someone else is on the bandwagon of like, raging out of a place of, creating separation, and then, because first we create separation between ourselves and others. Then we make the other some kind of dragon. Then we ride off to slay it, banners flapping in the breeze, right? And none of those are helpful. Zen is not just about navel gazing, right? It is about enlightened activity. So we may need to go forward and address some problem. But from what place are we doing it, right? From what place are we doing the addressing of things, right? Are we doing it from the place of awareness and compassion, or are we doing it from the place of like, I'm going off to slay that dragon because I know better and you deserve it, here I come, right? And when someone does that to us, do we have the capacity to go, look at that, they've been hijacked by their mind, and now they have their flags are blowing in the breeze and they're riding up to me and I'm the dragon they're trying to slay, right? Well, what happens when they do that and they find at the top of the hill, they get up into your cave and you're not a dragon, right? What happens when someone's like, rah, and you're like, hey, you seem really angry, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you? It's amazing. Like, this happens to me all the time because I work in a place where, part of my job is to provide customer service to people who are struggling with early recovery from addiction. And so often they may be on substances or grumpy because they just got off substances. And so they'll come and they'll be like, rah! And I'll be like, whoa, man, you all right? Sometimes I feel drawn to be like, how dare you speak to me that way? But that doesn't take us where we want to go, right? Doesn't take us where we want to go. So, because it's so very clear, it takes longer to come to realization. Right? There's a tradition in Zen temples of old where they, at the entrance, would have a little sign that says, look under your foot. Right? So, like where you stand, that's where you are, right there. It's that close. Just look under your foot. There it is. That's where you are right now. Be there, right? Because it's so close, you don't see it. If you know it once the candlelight is fire, the meal has long been cooked. So, my daughter, I still remember when my daughter discovered that stove burners are hot, right? She was like 3, and she reached up to touch a stove as it was warming up, and I was like that, no! And I just missed it. I didn't catch her. I caught her hand fast enough that we didn't go to the hospital, but she burned herself. And then of course she screamed uncontrollably and it was horrible, right? But then we put ice on it. It was okay. But she didn't know that the candle was fire, right? So we don't know that we contain everything we need, right? And once you realize it, it was always true, right? The meal was already cooked. It's long since cooked. Since the meal is already cooked, the option to know it already exists, right? The candle is fire. If you touch it and you know that it's fire, it was fire before, So, so go there, right? Don't try to discover the candle is fire. It's already fire. Don't try to light it. It's already lit. Just wash the bowls, right? Just clean the dishes. Do what's right in front of you. That's enough. Just that.